Hi, I'm Alison Warner, founder of Evolve and Grow and author of Build and Grow. Welcome to the Evolve and Grow podcast show, where I share lots of useful tips and advice to tradespeople who are looking to move off the tools and grow a really successful business. So I'm delighted to be joined by Ian Hodgkinson this afternoon on the Evolve and Grow podcast show. Hodgkinson Builders is a property development company with extensive experience across a range of high-volume residential and commercial projects. Their strapline is "We Build Communities." Hodgkinson Builders was founded in Derby in 1990 by Ian himself, starting from a small bricklaying business, and it now has 30 years of expertise in property development with projects all across the UK. They're also the firm that is behind the reality series Brickies on BBC Three, which was focused on a team of young bricklayers showing what it was like to work in the industry. So I just thought he would be an excellent guest to have on the show. So welcome, Ian.
Good afternoon, Alison.
So perhaps we could start with, if you could just share a little bit about your background and how you got into the industry.
Left school when I was just 16. I can remember getting up that very first morning and thinking it was very, very dark, and I didn't realise there was 2 6 o'clocks in a day. So just after 16, I think my birthday's round about Easter, and I started work just after Easter. So I was only a couple of weeks out of being 15. Very, very daunting. But I entered the industry a route, really, which was very similar to the majority of people that enter the industry nowadays. And that's, my father was in the building trade. He'd got a plastering business, but I didn't fancy plastering, so I wanted to go bricklaying. I had visions of being able to build my own house, and even in those early days. So I thought, well, at least a bricklayer can build a structure. He can set out, dig the footings. It's a square building, and then I can build a superstructure. And then, it's a doddle putting the roofs on and putting a bit of plaster on the walls, because my father was a plasterer and he could perhaps teach me that as well. So that was the thought process that I had. Obviously, roofing and plastering is a lot more difficult than thinking that you can just have a go. It wasn't entirely like that at all. But I'm being facetious there, to be quite honest. But you think you can do it when perhaps you can't. I came into the trade via my family. My father introduced me to a firm that was taking on apprentices at that time. And I went to learn my trade, and I was an apprentice bricklayer for 3 years at a local firm. And I came through the trade that way. I did my initial couple of years, 3 years to be a bricklayer. Then I got, that was my basic City and Guilds. And then I stayed on another extra year at college, and I got advanced craft. At that point, I was then offered a part-time job, actually teaching the year below me students. So I thought, yeah, actually, I'll have a go. I'll have a go with that. So I started doing some part-time teaching, and the money was good. At the same time, I was working behind a bar, and I decided at that point, then I'll have a go at self-employment. So I got 3 jobs, and I was doing all right. And it got me set up, to be quite honest. Working behind a bar gives you personal skills, dealing with people, chatting. So that gives you a sort of a way into actually selling yourself, to be quite honest. So did that, and doing the teaching. That was certainly character building, to be quite honest. And then obviously doing small jobs for myself. And to be honest, the story goes that we start at a smaller level, doing alterations, extensions, and I was picking the work up from a lot of people in the pub. Can you do me this? Can you do me that? So you do it that way. And then obviously I was getting a good grind in with doing some of the basic teaching as well, which I absolutely loved. So when I started to expand a little bit, I got a way in for extra extra lads and staff. So even in those days, we had one or two girls on that was coming through the actual college. So so that gave me a little bit of resource, you see, so I could pull a few people in to help me out. So it was a decent start.
Yeah, you're certainly right about the working behind a bar. I think it's something everybody should do, really, because it does. Yeah, you sink or swim, really, don't you? It pulls you out of yourself.
yeah, it does, because one you can earn a few quid, and it's certainly character building. And obviously, when you're working behind a bar, you're meeting people, and it saves you cash going out. And you can go there on your own 2 or 3 nights a week anyway, and still meet people, which was the key thing. I really enjoyed it.
So, what sort of changes have you seen in the industry over that time?
Oh, the industry has moved on immensely, to be quite honest, especially with lifting and mechanical and safety. To be fair, and I can remember in those early days building houses, and for other people, not myself. And you were given £10 to do some scaffolding round a chimney. And in reality, all you did really was to make a little bit of a hop up using some timber and a batten that was put across some trusses, and your life depended on those on that bit of timber, which was only 4x1. And nowadays, I just dread to think, we've got a batten on top of that timber and stacks of bricks and mortar, and we're given 10 quid, and that is not on. These days, you've got fall arrest systems, a proper scaffold around your chimney, and it's all done properly. So thankfully those, when people say, you don't build houses like we used to, I'm thinking, thank God we don't, because that's where we often used to end up. And then, of course, lifting and mechanical devices and materials are getting lighter as well. It all makes it more buildable. It means people haven't got to be weightlifting hunks to get concrete lintels up there. I mean, we just don't use concrete lintels these days. But I can remember shimmying up a ladder with a concrete lintel on my shoulder and thinking, this is not the way to go on, really. And no wonder in those early days people were putting the backs out and having injuries. These days it's nothing like. We do our statistics and site and health and safety administration on site, and it's virtually zero accidents. Yet we do get the odd one or two, but it's virtually zero. And I don't want anybody to have an accident on any of our sites. I want them to go home at night and safe and sound to go back to the families.
Sure. And what about in terms of, we've just touched on it before we came on the show there, about employment and career opportunities and how the industry is perceived. Have you seen any change there?
I think the old perceptions still exist, I think, especially with teachers and parents and peer groups. I can say the normal route into the industry was because one of your family members was already in the industry, so you come to work with me and you sort of learn your trade that way. It's very rare that we get somebody that's not been connected with building previously that comes into it. But I mean, it'd be quite daunting for a youngster, if you can imagine how they would actually apply for a job. And that's very difficult in itself. Where do you actually apply to be a bricklaying apprentice or a plastering apprentice or a joinery apprentice? No, it's not. The fact that you keep sending emails or letters into construction firms is really one way to do it, but maybe it's just throwing grain on dry ground or something like that. Really, the ways into the industry these days is via apprentice providers. So you go to a learning provider and they will teach you and get you into the industry, and normally they will then marry you up with a firm that's desperate for workers. So that is the way that my advice would be for somebody to get into the industry initially. But the old perception still exists, and if a kid's done well at school and the kid goes to careers advisor and says, I'd like to be a builder or a brickier or a joiner, and they'll go, well, you've done well in school. Why do you want to do that? And they actually put off at that level. And, and again, if we think about it, in the late 90s, the government at that time was encouraging people to stay on at school and go to university, thus creating a skills gap. And what we've got now is not just a gap; it's a crisis, because there's that many tradespeople required in the country to try and build the 300,000 houses that the government wants. It's just isn't there. And again, people's perceptions and teachers' perceptions and parents and peer groups' perceptions is just woeful of the industry being low esteem. If you're not academic, then go into the industry. Well, why is that perception? Because actually, when you're setting out a building, you need to know what you're doing. So, and you need to read a set of plans, and you need to get your windows and doors and your pillars and the structure level and in the right place, because there's a module to it. It has to be set out per brick, per linear meter. And people need to understand that. And of course, bricks are laid in courses, and there's and each course is 75 mil, and it's 75, 150, 225, and 300, and so on. And they all need to be gauged to make sure that you hit the top of the windows. So I would say that building is not really for the faint-hearted or somebody that's doesn't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
But having said that, I would encourage everybody to come into the building trade, because it gives them a chance. Because I was that kid when I left school, it gave me a chance, and it means that you can start at anywhere you want and end up with anywhere you want as well. So there's chances there for you. And again, you've got this perception that it's low paid, low esteem, and there's no future. Well, again, I can dispel all those rumours. Builders out there are earning a fortune at the moment. There's a shortage. They're desperate. We're paying apprentices absolutely fabulous money. I've got a bigger, airy goal that an apprentice comes to us, and within 5 years he can be earning £1,000 a week. If he's good, he can be earning that, and that is damn good money. And then we've got career prospects. You can go on to be your own boss, your own business, or you can go up the ladder, project manager and foreman and gangerman, or if you want, you can just go and build all over the world. You've got your travel, and you can travel. You can take that travel anywhere in the world. And I've had kids come to me that have come and worked for us that are now in Australia or Spain or in America. Absolutely, the world is your oyster with this particular trade.
And it'll always be needed. You'll never be out of a job. And it's interesting what you touched on there around there's almost two paths. But if you want to come off the tools and grow a business, then the opportunity is there. But that's kind of what we deal with, because there's a gap in the market there. There's nobody teaching these people how to run a business, because as we know, it's a completely different skill set to actually working on the tools. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, there's opportunities there. There's definitely opportunities, and to be honest, I was the same person. I've been to the University of Life, but take advice, listen to advice. There's advice that you give is absolutely essential. Making sure that you've got your paperwork in place, your health and safety, that you don't trip yourself up, because you can do all this fabulous work. And then because you've not actually covered all bases, then you end up toppling down the ladder again because of an incident or an issue, or you've not got it covered off. So it's absolutely essential that you operate properly and above board and doing things properly. It's absolutely paramount, that there's no doubt about it. So and it's about how your customers perceive you as well. And if you turn up in the right manner, you turn up on time, and you give a reasonable price or a good price for doing a fantastic job, you will get return work, and that's always been the case. And it's time, it's quality, and it's perception of yourself, that where people actually believe in what you do, and they'll support you, and you'll get return work off that. it's not down to price. It's not always down to price.
It's the perception of value at the end of the day.
Yes.
And how do you think we address this issue of the industry still not being promoted as a serious career option in schools?
I think again, we've got to keep working on it. We've got to making sure that the message gets out there and the kids hear it, and talk about our industry in the most positive manner, because there's a lot of people out there bemoaning. There's a lot of people out there calling it. And really, I can't call the building trade. It's given me a fantastic life. It's given me the opportunities that ordinarily I wouldn't have got. And the fact is, you've got freedom about what you do. If you're self-employed, you've got freedom, and that is worth more than money can buy at any time. But at the same time, because you've got freedom, it doesn't mean you can come and go. It means that you've got to work hard. You've got to produce your quality product. And the fact is that if you do finish early or you've got an appointment to make, you can go and do that. And that is absolutely fine. But don't ever let anybody down. You've got to do your job, and you've got to do it properly and finish your job and be clean and safe as well.
Yeah, that's good advice. And I mean, to be fair to you, Ian, you've done something about this, because it sounds as though presumably that's one of the reasons why you started the Bricklayers Academy, to give people an opportunity and to promote the career opportunity. So can you just tell us a little bit more about the Academy?
Yeah, now the Academy is a training sort of initiative that we put together. I think it's 2015, something like that. And there was a lot, and we just come out of the recession, if you remember, maybe 2 or 3 years out of the recessions. And in that financial recession, there's a lot of people left. A lot of people left the industry for one reason or another, and probably because there wasn't a lot of work around. So, so when things started to pick up, and there's always been a shortage of houses, Alison, and even now, as things are, we still can't build enough houses to keep up with demand. So whatever happens in the future, there's always going to be a massive demand for housing. So that's good for the trade itself. But we could see that in 2014, 2015, there was a skill shortage there. It wasn't quite a crisis as it is today, but there's certainly a shortage. So instead of bemoaning, we did something about it. So I'll tell you what, we'll teach our own. Because you remember I was talking about the teaching at the local college earlier on in the podcast. So it was easy enough for me in those early days to get in touch with those that I'd been teaching to, do you want a job? Do you want to come and do this? Yeah. So I thought, well, let's expand on that. We can keep doing that. So we put together the Hodgkinson Academy, and we started getting the kids in that way and teaching them. And of course, they came into the bricklaying business and then ultimately into the house building business. So it does, to some extent, try and alleviate some of the staffing issues that we've got, that you're bringing them in constantly. And we are, we're getting the kids in, every couple of months. As soon as they can lay a few bricks, then we get to the next one in. And our affiliation at the moment is with the NHBC. They've got a training centre at Lichfield. And the fact is that within 6 weeks, we've got some of these kids laying bricks. Now, okay, they can't set houses out. They can't build corners, and we've got to keep an eye on them. And don't get me wrong, I've got mentors and people out there watching, but they can lay bricks on a line between 2 points, and that will get them a long, long way. So that's what we did really, is really stop moaning and do something about it. Yeah. Now, a lot of firms will say, well, they're a big tie and they're a bit cumbersome, and apprentices cost a lot, and all they're good for is labouring. Well, yeah, if that's what you allow them to do, but don't get them laying. Give them a trowel. From my experience, give them a trowel and some mortar and get them laying in the footings. So it's not so much of an issue down there. Get them on it from day one and encourage them instead of shouting at them and and taking the mickey out of them, encourage them and help them to get on the line and to lay a few bricks. And really, in reality, Alison, within, if those apprentices in the early days can lay 100 or 120 bricks, which is not insurmountable, they're covering the money, and what I say is it's an investment in your business. Like you'd go out and buy some scaffolding or some kit or a still saw or a JCB. Those kids are an investment in your business. So yeah, it will cost you initially to begin with, but I'll tell you something, what you will get is loyalty.
Absolutely. I always used to say that in a past life when I had a team of people, I always much preferred to spot potential in the team and develop from within, because what they lack for in that experience, they made up for 10 times in terms of loyalty, as you say. And also the cost of having that vacancy, and trying to find somebody experienced. You could have trained somebody up in that time yourself and trained them the way that you want them as well. Just out of interest, the people that are coming through, what percentage roughly would you say have aspirations to go on and have their own business in the future?
I would assume that quite a few have got aspirations. They've got a desire to go on in life. There's no doubt about that. I try and encourage. Obviously, they've been trained by us. I do try and encourage them to stay with us by making sure that they've got all the benefits that come with being on the books. Because once what I would say to to the people that you represent is that you keep them when somebody's been trained. You keep them on the books. You pay them holidays. You treat them properly. PPE. It's very important that PPE and being safe. I notice on some of the banter groups that a lot of them aren't wearing full PPE, and to me it looks horrifying. And I don't advocate that at all. So you act properly at all times. But yeah, there's no reason why you can't set up and you can't go and do jobs, but make sure that it's all done in the proper manner with insurance, with qualifications, and or like I say, all in the proper manner. But yeah, it's there to be had. The opportunities are there. Households and industrial and commercial. We're all desperate for good people. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. And looking at your website, it looked like the academy was almost like an employment resource as well for other builders that are looking for those skills. How does that work?
Yeah, well, it gives opportunities for other people to see what's available, because we get that many kids apply to us. We can't take them all on, so what I'm saying is, look, maybe we can't find work with you, but maybe we can, talk to some of our competitors and other builders, and, because otherwise, they might go by the wayside. But, if I can't take them all on, somebody else will. So even though they're not working for me or they're not one of my apprentices, they're somebody else's apprentices, but it adds to the numbers. It's another bricklayer, it's another builder, it's another carpenter that's there to be had in the future. And you might not have been trained by me, but he might want to come and work for me later on. So things are transparent. So we'll try and breaking down the barriers, so potentially we could work together in the future.
And how did the BBC show Brickies come about?
That's a good question. We got talking to the BBC before COVID, to be quite honest, and that did put us back a year to 18 months. But we are a big. I think people would refer to us as quite a big influence on the internet. We've got a lot of followers on LinkedIn and on Facebook and on Twitter and Instagram, and I think they could see that we were part and parcel of that. One of the groups we've got is called Bricklayers Online, and we've got nearly 50,000 followers on that. So there's quite a big influence to be had. Taking into account, there's only around about 70,000 bricklayers in the country anyway. So, yeah, so that just goes to show the actual, what we've captured over the years. And I think it's because of the influence we've got, the awareness, and we're reasonably fair. The number of bricklayers we've got, it made for a good show. So they approached us, we put a pilot together, and it worked out. And we did series 1 last year, and we're now in the middle of filming series 2. So yeah, it's been very successful. We're originally on BBC 3. It's there to be had on iPlayer to binge watch it, just like you would on anywhere else. If you want to spend this Saturday binge watching Brickies, then yeah, you're more than welcome to. But they have moved it to BBC 1, so it's all repeated on BBC 1, and the exposure is absolutely phenomenal. It's brilliant. So it's a great experience. Absolutely, and I'm intrigued. What has come about as a result of it? It's massive awareness. All the lads and all the girls that took part in the show are now all sort of mini celebrities. All their profiles have lifted. It's just a great experience, to be quite honest. And I get to be able to create awareness for the business as well. We're also part and parcel of what we tried to do was make sure that all those perceptions we've been talking about were all addressed. It was a positive program about encouraging people to come in the trade. So I hope that we've encouraged 1 or 2 people to come in. And some of the feedback I saw on online and on Facebook, wow, I'm going to contact them. I'm going to go to my local provider or builder and see if they want anybody to come into the trade. So yeah, so if we can encourage 1 or 2 more people to come into the trade, have a bit of fun, and a laugh, then it's great. It's not about money at all. There was no money involved, and it's just a great experience for the kids. Again, and it's from where you've come from as well, because when you set off in life in this trade, you never know where you're going to go, do you? And one of the kids that was involved, Lucas, 18 months previously, he was working behind a bar, and in the middle of Nottingham, and he was threatened one night, and where he was working, for no other reason than just working behind the bar, and he says, "I've just had enough. I don't need this." And he applied to come to work for us, and like he said, he never thought that within 18 months he'd be on TV and he'd have a job that was well paid, and it was just phenomenal. Where he's gone. So you never know where life is going to take you. If a door opens, go through it. If a door closes, it doesn't matter, because there'll be 10 more opening. Take your chances in life. That's the moral of this story. That's the moral of my life, and it's the moral of ending up on TV. Yeah, it's good general life advice, isn't it? But most of our listeners, as I said earlier, tend to have a business. It could be construction, or could be another trade such as plumbing or electrics. Tends to be in the bracket up to about between 100,000 and up to 3 to 4 million. And recruitment is particularly challenging at the moment, as we know. What advice would you give to them about perhaps seeing what we've talked about in a different way? And is it getting into schools, for example? Would you advocate that? Building relationships with colleges, and obviously it's not a quick fix. If you need somebody now, then that's probably not the solution. But looking at it more strategically, then that could be a good option. Absolutely. Everything you've said there, Alison, is great advice, and we've taken it and we've done it. But like I said earlier on in the podcast, it's about investment. And yes, if you want to join or an electrician or a plumber tomorrow morning, that's going to be very difficult. But what you could do is that if you want a plumber or electrician or a plumber in 12 months' time, then you need to prepare for that, right? So it's no good wanting your bricks tomorrow because they are not there. You've got to be more strategic thinking. You've got to plan ahead, and the people just aren't out there. So you've got to plan. And I would say you tailor your workload to the staff that you've got at this moment in time, and you take the work on as you grow with your staff. You rely on your staff, and you grow slowly with your staff, rather than taking work on and then trying to find staff to do that work, because it doesn't work. So be careful what you take on, tailor your workload. But yes, invest in people. And when you've got people, keep them, treat them properly. Do not abuse them. Make sure that they are taken care of. And yeah, we all have issues, and listen to those issues. Take them on board and put an arm around people if you need to, and support them, and pay proper wages as well. Fair and proper wages on time, and you'll be okay. But if you want your bricks and your stuff tomorrow, that's very difficult at this moment in time. Very, very difficult.
But what we're talking about there a lot is managing people. And if you've never managed people before, then it's a big ask. And it's just highlighting that gap of how to help people have those conversations in the right way. Because often we find that people, and it's not just in construction they do this, they shy away from having the difficult conversation, and the tension and frustration builds, and then it's like, right, you're gone. It's one way or the other, as opposed to sitting down with the individual, giving feedback. It can just be a cup of tea in the cafe, half an hour. It doesn't have to be, very corporate. It's just that building that into your processes so that you're continually giving feedback, both constructive and positive, and nurturing. I think that's what we're talking about here, isn't it? It's nurturing and developing people and bringing them through, and it pays dividends, literally.
Oh yeah, it does. I mean, it's a funny old world where people can't talk to other people. I don't always get that. But you also demonstrate yourself in a matter of respect of how you conduct yourself. So if you conduct yourself in the right manner, people will actually, your employees, look up to you and will respect what you do. And if you do the right things, then they will follow in your footsteps. So don't be bad examples. So if you're a boss, you've actually got to be setting the right example at all times. If you're taking them out for a drink, you are responsible for those people while you are within their care. So yeah, you have to encourage. You have to be right. And when somebody's not doing something wrong, you need to say that. You need to have those difficult conversations, because again, they will respect you for that. There's no good letting somebody get away with it or coming in late, because that will do nobody any good whatsoever. But you have to give people a chance. Why is he coming in late? He's struggling to get on a bus, or he or she is struggling to. They're making three. Because when I was an apprentice, I got to make two bus connections to get from where I lived in Ilkeston across to the other side of Nottingham. It wasn't easy, and you had to be there on time. So and some of them logistically will struggle to get to a place. So you've got to be understanding of that. But at the same time, if they're not turning up at all, then that is a different conversation to be had. Are they actually interested in having this job? So, yeah, if ever I've got difficult conversations to have, I have them in the morning. Get them off. Nobody wants them. Nobody wants them. We all want to be happy and crack on and with our lives. But have those difficult conversations in the morning, because they're not overbearing on everything else that you're doing during the day. Yeah. I think I think they used to call it eating a frog. So you eat the frog first of all, and you've done it. Yeah, then you can crack on with everything else because you've got other decisions to make during that day. So you don't want to have that on your mind. So make those decisions, and have those conversations immediately. Yeah, don't let them linger over a weekend. Yeah, so get them done and out of the way, and consequently, I when we've done a job and we have settlement meetings, I used to tend to have those on a Friday afternoon, with customers and clients because they want to get away, don't they? So I used to sit there on a Friday to hammer out a deal. And I've always found out that Fridays are the best day to get a deal done because folks just want to go home. They don't, Mondays are a bit different because they've got all the stuff on and they want to crack on and they're a bit more meaningful, with the thought process. But on a Friday, everybody's a little bit more relaxed. So do your deals on a Friday afternoon.
Excellent. Good advice. And my last question, Ian, is what's next for Hodgkinson Builders?
Well, currently we have round about 300 odd houses on the go, 330, I think, at our last count. So that's at one stage or another. Some are ready for handover, some we're just starting. We're going to each that up to within the next 18 months up to about 500 houses a year. So yeah, that's where we're going next. So yeah, and open market sales as well. So we've just started that in earnest with a site that we've got at Ashbourne. So that's our little foray into house sales, and I think half of them are under offer at the moment, which is good. But most of our work is social housing for housing associations. So we're going to up the ante a little bit, and we're going to get another 30% worth of production going. We've got humble beginnings. I started it all off. Where all the shares are wholly owned by Hodgkinson family. There's no external investors at the moment, and the future's great. The future's
excellent,
great.
Excellent. Well, it's been really interesting and inspiring talking to you, Ian. Thank you very much for coming on the show today. And should our listeners want to go and find out more about Hodgkinson Builders and the Builders Academy, Bricklayers Academy, where should they go?
Well, bricklayers.com. What a web address. Yeah. It's easy to remember. It's a web address that I bought in 1996 that was available. And again, it's easy to remember. Bricklayers.com.
Good decision buying that URL.
Yes.
Okay. That's great. Thank you very much. I really hope you have enjoyed today's podcast. I would love to invite you to join our Trades and Builders Business Growth Group on Facebook, where I regularly share lots of information to help you create a more successful trades business. You can also order a copy of my book, Build and Grow, which is available on Amazon.